excited to have Felix with us from Paper Republic today, who is going to be talking about getting organized ahead of us jumping back into school. Just,
Hello.
just going to give a couple more minutes for people to join in. And then we will get started. In the meantime, if you are here and a Paper Republic fan, like myself and like Felix, obviously, please do let us know in the chat what your, oh yes, Joe's already showing hers off, Talissa's showing hers off, love it. Sam, I see you. Kaylin, I see you. This is amazing. So lovely to see all of the great Paper Republic products that we have here. If you'd like to put in the chat what your current Paper Republic journal of choice is, that would be really, really great to see. Oh, Annalisa, you will not regret it. I tell you what. Got a Grand Voyager XL and A4. Yes, I'm on the same pathway. Lisa. You don't have to choose. You can just say they're all great. Love that. Grand Voyager A4 and the passport size. That is amazing. For all of those that are saying that they want one, I would stick around because we may have a cheeky discount code to share at the end of this talk. Love it. Love it so much. Look at all these Paper Republic fans. It makes me so happy. All right, everyone. I am going to kick us off on this talk. Massive thank you for all of you for joining us today. This is the first talk in a series of back to school talks that we will be hosting throughout the week. And we are kicking off with getting organized for back to school with Felix from Paper Republic. Welcome, Felix. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy you're joining us. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, kind of what you do on your day-to-day, and specifically what your role is in Paper Republic?
Yeah, sure. First of all, I'm also very happy to be here. A lot of Paper Republic fans, a lot of Notebook fans. Always great to talk to them. And yeah, my daily work in Paper Republic is I'm work on the customer support. This is like for me like a job next to my university degree because I'm working on my university degree. At the moment, I have finished my bachelor degrees in German and in philosophy. And yeah, I'm going to study now in the master degree. And so yeah, it's like part-time working, part-time studying. And yeah, with October, I'm going back to university. But yeah, at the moment in the summertime, I only work at Paper Republic at the customer support and yeah, writing a little bit on my university papers, but other than that, just also enjoying the summer most of the time.
Oh, that's amazing, Felix. And absolutely, you're among a community of academics here. We are all in different phases of our academic careers, our academic journeys. Some of us are starting masters, some of us are starting PhDs, some of us are just starting university for the first time. And we have a range of people with different life balances, working, studying part-time, similar to yourself. And that was actually the reason that I got into Paper Republic, is I think it must have been over a year ago. I ordered my first Paper Republic, which was this Grand Voyager XL, in the chestnut, nice and well worn and beautiful. And I love her dearly. But it was a big opportunity for me to kind of plan out my competing interests, essentially, with working full-time and studying part-time. And from there, it actually just became a massive, massive addiction. And now I just want more and more and more Paper Republic journals. But I am told that you have a fair number of Paper Republic notebooks. Can you tell us how many you actually own?
Yeah, that's correct. First of all, I have to say I got them a little bit cheaper, so it's not that crazy, but it's true. It's like 38. It's like 38 leather covers, and in that different amount of notebooks. And yeah, I use it for different topics, but also have to always say it's not necessary, but it's just a luxus because I work at Paper Republic, and yeah, I really enjoy it. I love it, but I think you just for me like six are perfect, or maybe three because I have three. I have one in the pocket size, in the XL size, and then the A4 size. And for me, that is like the core keystone for my daily work. And these are the three that I use all the time. And the other ones are I use from time to time, like in different topics. Like for example, when I have a reading circle, then I have there like a specific notebook for it, or from a university, I have like specific notebooks for it. But I think it's always just to try out, because if you have more, it also gets a little bit more complicated to keep it like organized. So I would say for me, three is a pretty good number, just to have like three covers, three different sizes, because then you also have like the benefits of the size difference, because maybe the pocket size is great for like traveling, the XL size is the mid-range, like for daily journaling, and the A4 is like when you really want to create like I don't know, like you want to write something deeper, more focus really on a text, and you have like a good table and have time for it, then it's like the A4 maybe the good choice for the size.
I mean, I personally love my A4 so, so much. It's a great space for me to keep all my university
Mhm.
notes and keep my drafts for my dissertation. And
Mhm.
you kind of touched on this a little bit. So I'm going to ask you if you wouldn't mind just explaining your ecosystem, your journaling ecosystem a little bit more. Like, what do you use your notebooks for specifically, and how do you organize them across 30 plus notebooks, essentially?
Okay, yeah, it's kind of difficult for me to explain it sometimes in English, because I don't know the words in English. But for example, it's like here I have so this is I'm a black fan, and these are like the three in black, the different sizes, and these are like the most important for me. And here, for example, is like how what I want, what I write on the cover. And here you can see like this is like the number and like a system I have developed. Like this is a zero. Zero is like my symbol for organization stuff. Then I have like a symbol for X. X is more like this. I don't know. This is not a notebook. This is like a Sudelbuch in German, or scribbling book. And this is like for just daily notes, like everything. And you can just write it down, and it's not that specific, because I have three different kind of notebooks. So I have like the number first is like for private stuff like journaling, or like the basic stuff, I would say. Number two is more like for reading notes, like if I'm reading a book and I want to make like some margins on the reading. And three, the number three is for my creative writing. Sometimes I try to write my own novels or something like that. And then I have like these three different numbers for three different kind of notebooks. And zero is like the number for the organization stuff. Like I have different organization books, like one for time scheduling, one like for task scheduling, one like more for my appointments. And yeah, and X is like the most simple version, where I use it the most frequent time, because I just like when I'm on the way or have like a thought, then I just write it down. And the process would be then in the evening, or when I have more time on the weekends, then I try to think again about these stuff, and then try to develop these ideas or like these topics in the notebooks that are specific for these kind of notes. And then I have it a little bit more organized, but this is like the main idea, and I try yeah, to stick to it and do it most of the time. But it's also depending on how much time you have. Like for example, if you have a lot of work to do, or you have like a stressful university week, then of course I just leave it up to the next week. It's not that important for me. But yeah, most of the time it's working pretty good for me.
That's amazing. I when you told me about the system, I was absolutely floored. I just never had the idea of having like separate notebooks like for particular things, and I've actually ended up structuring my entire notebook system now going forward in a similar way. So you've truly inspired me in that way, to kind of have those notebooks set up for particular focus points. And I think aligning them, as you say, with like different sizes for whatever the case may be, it makes it so much easier. Um, so before we kind of go down into the organizational rabbit hole, which
Yep.
is the beauty of Paper Republic, is organization. Can you tell us a little bit about where writing started for you? Where did journaling begin? How did you kind of get into this idea of recording things in an analog manner rather than just being digital entirely?
Okay, yeah. This is like maybe a quite unusual story, but maybe also a pretty usual story because I was like in a more technical school, and in Austria we say HTL. It's like more like on the technical side. You have a lot of mathematician or mechanics, and I was never good like in German or in writing. Most of the time because I made a lot of writing mistakes and not about the what's really um in the text. But other than that, I think it was just like I had a pretty good German teacher that was also very important. Like when I was 17, I get this pretty good German teacher, and we have to read a lot of interesting books for me. And before that, I never read anything. And then it just clicked for me, and it was more to more clear that I don't want to stay on the more technical side. At first, when I was 14 or something like that, I always thought I want to study like physics or chemics or something like that. But then when I was 18, I really got into like arts, and I go to a lot of museums, and it was like I think it was like a quite good time to get into it because yeah, I had a lot of energy, and I really had a lot of time to just read a lot, and just yeah, it was really open for this new world for me. And I think the first notebook I have bought when I got into the military service, because in Austria you have to do a half a year of a half year military or like some social work, like in hospitals. And but this is 9 months, and I choose the military. Yeah, and it was a not a bad time, but it was a quite different time to the normal life because yeah, there's a lot of discipline and a lot of group work, and you don't have that much space for your own. And because of that, maybe I just started to writing things down because I don't have like the open space to just tell people, because there are a lot of new people and you don't know them that well, and you're always sleeping like with some 12 roommates in a room. And then yeah, I think I just started writing down. It was just like a really basic school notebook for €1 or something like that. It was just like A5, and at first it was like pretty cringe to write something down in it because I tried to write some poems, and I think I overcomplicated it a little bit. I tried to, it has to be something like great, and when I write something down, it has to be like super good. And yeah, but then I get more and more used to it, and really lose the fear of my own writing and the paper and the pen. And yeah, it was quite like a safe space for me. And then I got into it in writing notes.
I love that. I really, really love that. That idea of almost getting forced into writing, but actually realizing the benefits of it to in the circumstances and
Mm,
in the situation, and then kind of becoming such an important part of sort of your daily life, your daily routine. I know for myself, I write every single day,
mm,
whether it's, a journaling prompt, or it's writing down lists, or it's writing down thoughts that are coming out as
mm,
I'm kind of conducting my research. There's always a point in time throughout the day that I'm writing. And what we found within this community, within this group, and particularly to those who attended our writing retreat recently, is that idea of writing sparks that sort of process of thinking and creativity that I think when you're just typing out, which is a bit more mechanical, you kind of don't have that opportunity for your brain to slow down and think about what it's actually putting down onto the page. And so this kind of process of writing not only prompts that sort of greater amount of thinking, but prompts a huge amount of creativity as you're kind of going through the process. And even if it is like that first sort of point of like, oh, this is a really cringy thing that I'm writing down, at least it's, it probably prompted
Yeah,
something in you.
absolutely. And for me, it's like also a big benefit of the handwriting is that it's not so easy to correct, because some people say it,
Yeah.
when you're on the digital world, you can just like you press the backspace, and then everything you can start over again. But I think what this is also concerning is like when you can correct, then you will correct. And if you have like just
Yeah.
a pen and paper and you have like a fountain pen or like a ballpoint pen, then you just maybe you just you cross it through, you go on, you move on, you say, okay, it's not that perfect, it looks a little bit ugly, I have like some pronation and some I have write something down wrong, and then but you just move on, and it's more like a fluent thing for me, like to write on the hand paper, and it's much more fun because for me it's like because of the university writing, when I type something, it's more like try to be like more professional or try to make some university work, but it's more like maybe because I started with handwriting, it's just like more, for me it's much more fun. It's much more fun. Mm.
I love that, because I think what a lot of people struggle with in academia, and what a lot of people, myself included in this community, struggle with,
Mm.
is actually that like writer's block moment
Yeah.
when it comes to, whether it's writing an assignment or it's trying to formulate what your argument is. And one thing that I found to be super helpful is actually just starting to write. It doesn't have to be about what you're hoping to achieve, but eventually your thought process kind of goes down that way of thinking about, oh, here's a connection point, or here's something that I hadn't really thought about, but I didn't kind of get there until I started writing these sort of notes down.
Yeah.
And I kind of wondered if, as you're going through your studies now, are you finding that to be a similar kind of experience? You're studying a language, which is something that
Mm.
I am not, and I can't quite imagine without thinking about my terrible pronunciation on anything. But how does that kind of formulate in with the idea of learning the mechanics of a language, like the grammar and that sort of thing, versus actually the creativity side of it?
Mm. Yeah,
Bit of
maybe
a
that's,
harder question, sorry.
yeah, it's a little bit more of a harder question, but I think at first, so basically I study more like German literature, because in
Mm.
Austria you cannot really study only German literature. There's just like this big topic German, but I focus and I write all my bachelor papers on new German literature. And because of that, I'm not so the grammar guy, so I don't know, like, yeah, that's not my strength. But I think it's quite important to see like how language works. It's like sometimes when you write something down, maybe you understand it like much better. Maybe for example, if you write down a poem and you see like there are some, you get a different feeling about the verbs because you write it down, and if you write it down you say it in your head like different as you say it out loud. And maybe
Yeah.
this is like some things that I have found out for myself, that if you write it down, maybe you get to know the word a little bit much better. And what I think is one of the most interesting part of note taking, if you like study something like German or also philosophy, is to read notes of other great philosophers or like literature people,
Great
because
idea.
yeah, this is like, it's really interesting how to see like people taking notes is like a very private thing. And I think it's a good idea that you don't publish it until you're deaf, because it's like really it really shows how you think. And I think it's super interesting if you read like
Yeah.
a novel, and then you have like the opportunity to, like some week later or something like that, you grab to like a diary or like a notebook is even better. Like when
Yeah.
they really make like quick notes, and something like Peter Handke, like a German author, you can read all his notes like in the Austrian National Library. and
Yeah.
it's online, and then you see like when he was in the church what he see and what he where his eyes go, where his ears go, and what he was thinking. And I think this is like super interesting if you study something
Yeah.
like a language or like something like that, because these people are really great writers, and it's super cool to see how they take notes and what there is in their head. And yeah, it's super cool.
That's actually super fascinating. One of my favorite things, we're going so tangent. It's, you know what, it's fine. One of my favorite things that I've ever seen is the facsimile of T.S. Eliot's annotation of the Wasteland. And if anyone else hasn't gone to have a look at this, highly recommend going to have a look at it, because um, the Wasteland, apart from being one of the longest sort of modern poems in the English era, was actually double the length of what it is today, or what it was published today, because there was so much that was cut out of it,
Okay,
um,
crazy.
which is so interesting to see, because it's also got Ezra Pound's notes in there on like how he interprets Eliot's poem and all this kind of thing. And it's just such a fascinating view of how, as you say, someone's thoughts
Yeah.
are progressing. And one thing that I found super interesting is even just going back on my notes from, not even like last week, but, years or months ago, where I kind of had this random bizarre idea that I'd written it down and I'd kind of forgotten about it, but I came back to it because it was in this kind of process
Mhm.
of organized chaos. That is a notebook. And given that you've kind of had so many notebooks and you've kind of developed this really great system, what would you say is the best tips that you've kind of developed in pulling ideas from either across your notebooks or through multiple systems?
Mm-hmm. And that's a pretty good question. So what is like, I think it's always difficult to give like tips on something like that, because I think note taking and like something like that is very personal.
So
And
personal.
some
Yeah.
people say it's like, okay, this is way too much, super overcomplicated for me. I don't need that. And I really had a time when it was like too crazy. Just try to use one notebook for everything, just like for to-do lists, for writing, just for everything. It makes it much more simple. But I think in when you use it for like more time, then it gets a little bit frustrating to organize the stuff and go back on the notes, because everything is like in one place and it's difficult to find it. But on the other hand, it's also easier to find it because you only have one notebook and you just
Yeah.
have to go it through. But I have a little bit of the aesthetics in my mind. Because of that, I like when something is like this topic is in this notebook, and yeah, it makes it much more readable for me in the future when I go back for today. And I think it's just like to figuring out what's really is working for you. It could be like how you want to organize your to-do list, or like your time, or like whatever, and what is like too much and what is too less. I think this is like the biggest part of finding out, like, because if it's too much, then you are more like in the organization rabbit hole and you don't write anything, and you just like
Yeah.
organize your time, and then you write down and okay, say okay, good, I have now organized 2 hours and now I have no time for reading and do the basically real work.
Yeah.
But if you you don't organize anything, then it's super difficult just to start, because maybe you don't find like the ideas you had in the past, or like you don't had really the focus. Okay, what matters is now what is like the most important topic, and where should go my focus. And because of that, it's like find a good balance between doing too much and doing too less. And
Yeah.
if you find that, I think this is like is like super good. But of course, you have to try just to find out. And when you have found it, then I don't would just like stick to other opinions too much, because sometimes it's super confusing and you think, okay, these people do it like that, maybe I should try that also. But I was happy now for 1 month with my note taking, and now maybe I should change it. But so yeah, I would try to make some own work and then see how it goes for me, how I like my note taking. Is it more natural? Is it fluent? Is it like a big effort? Is it like every time I have to take the pen, is it like, oh, now I have to write this down, and is it really worth it? Or is it just like you have it in your pocket and then, okay, super good, I have now a place where I can write it down, and it's super easy to organize. And for the next day, maybe in the evening, I sit there and I try to make the to-do list for tomorrow, or just think about it. Or maybe you don't need a to-do list. You find it like super annoying to cross everything through and to write it down, because you say, I will remember it anyway. And yeah, some people in my classes always say the most important stuff they remember, and if it's not that important, they will forget it. So for them, it's like a to-do list, it's not the thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
if you are the type of person which don't need a to-do list, great, you save a lot of time. But if you're like me, then it's more like it's really good just to have like this list. And sometimes it's like overwhelming. You get some new tasks in every day, and then you can just go back to this list and say, okay, what was my plan for today? What I really want to do? And yesterday in the evening, what I thought would be great if I accomplish today. If I go maybe just some sports, or like I want to read some pages, or working on a university paper or study or whatever. And I think this is very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, I can't imagine living without my to-do lists, because I am just a mad list person. I have lists for everything, and that's why this chunky little pocket one of mine is so fat and full, and that is just lists essentially, and like my schedule. Otherwise, I will just I just can't imagine not operating without lists. But I also know that that's a very personal thing to me, as you say, is some people work in very different methods. And what I've been really interested in seeing, again, going in a little bit of a tangent here, but what has been really interesting to see as I've kind of gone through understanding journaling and understanding planning, is that there are so many different methods for trying to get across what you need and how your brain works. And I think by trialing so many different things, you can be you can really come to that sort of balanced mentality that you were talking about. You know, if if you have particular like neurodivergent tendencies and things like that, or you are neurodivergent, sometimes having just like linear lists is not a thing that
Yeah.
works for you, right? And sometimes listening to people say like, oh, that's just the way that it works for me, it might actually hinder your progress in finding out what system works the best for you. And I think, as you say, it's just about trialing all these different things and how they kind of work
Mhm.
in the best way for you.
Yeah, I think like that's totally my opinion. And for example, what I found out is sometimes it's like when the tasks are overwhelming, or what happens most of the time is that you make a plan and then you live the day and you see, okay, this plan doesn't work. It's like shit. It's crap. I have to do much other stuff, and is not that good. But sometimes you're like in a rage mode and you think like, oh, I have to make. Yesterday I made all this list and organization, and what is like really fun to do is like to take 10 minutes time and just to rage, like to I have to do this and that, and this is all like so unimportant, and you just write it down, and this is so annoying, and I have to do that, and this don't make fun. And for me, it's like when I write it down in like full sentence and I just write it down, it's not that like super good language or whatever. It's just like you
Yeah,
writing a WhatsApp to yourself, like this isn't
I
that
love
good.
that.
And this is like it's super fun to do, and it's
Yeah.
quite easy. And most of the time when I'm finished with that, it's okay. Okay, now I can go to the next task. And yeah, maybe the plan is now not that good, and some parts of the plan are now not accomplishable. But then I would just go on and try to do what I can. But
I
yeah,
love
it's
that idea of a rage notebook or like a rage list of just being like, these are all the things that I have to do. And even if they're not that important, I'm just thinking about that now. I was like, I have to go and renew my insurance. You know, that's so annoying. Why
yeah,
can't it just
that's
like
yeah, exactly.
self-renew itself?
Yeah, that's exactly
But
it.
that is so brilliant. I love that idea of like doing like a rage list. I'm definitely gonna start incorporating that. So I just for everyone that is here in the Zoom, we will have some question and answer time with Felix at the end of this chat. So if you do have some questions that you would like to share, please start thinking about them as we kind of finish up. I've got a couple more questions for Felix, but just so that you have some time to prepare, maybe write them down in your paper republics or whatever the case may be. But yes, just a flag up to everyone to start thinking about some questions. I suppose since we're talking about writing things down in paper republics, I wanted to ask you which one of your paper republic notebooks is your favorite, if there is a favorite, and why.
Okay, so I think like of the kind of paper republic notebook, I would say stick to the most basic thing, like to the Grand Voyager. It's just like this simple leather cover where just like you don't have like these inside bags or whatever. It's just like the leather cover. And this
Yeah,
is actually so these two,
pocket one.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the XL and the pocket one, these it was 2022, so these are now more than 3 years old. And these were
Wow.
the first ones I got. And I really say these are also the best ones. So I only have so I have like a portfolio for work, but most of the time for my private stuff, I stick to the Grand Voyager because it's it's just like it's a really simple version and you just can switch out the refills, and because of that I think the Grand Voyager is like top notch. And the size, I think for like rewriting notes I stick to the XL most of the time, but this like the pocket size is really always with me. So there's nearly, maybe if I go like maybe some sports or like whatever, then not, but if I go out of the boys or like whatever, then I always have like a pocket notebook with me. That just like for one reason, there I have some loose paper in there, and sometimes if you like playing cards or whatever, it's good if you have loose paper and you have a pen with you.
So clever.
And or sometimes like if you are in the subway, or you had some beers and you're walking home, and then maybe you had a good idea or like for a novel or whatever, you're feeling like quite fun just to write something like a note. And I think it's just like what I like most about note taking is the note taking which is not planned. Like it's not that you
Yeah.
sit down in the evening and then you say, okay, now I have a coffee or like a tea and I'm writing now like 20 minutes. It's also good, it's also super useful, but what I like more is like when it overcomes you. You're like in the subway and then you have like a good idea,
Okay.
or you okay, now I'm thinking about that and now I see it clear. Now I know why I have thought that, or why I was unhappy about that, or why was this so fulfilling for me. And then you have like all these answers, and
Wow.
you're riding in the subway into the sunrise or whatever, and then you have like a super good note-taking experience. And this is like really big enjoyment for me. But I think like to get back to the questions, I would say the XL version is, it's probably the most important for me at the moment. But the Pocket is like more with me every time. And the A4 is basically more like for the big organization stuff or like for really deep note taking. But I think the smaller sizes are a little bit more important for me.
I'm going to jump in with Hannah's question here because it relates directly to the notebook, which is a big question among a lot of us Paper Republic people, is how is the patina on your notebooks? What is the coloring looking like after 3 years?
Okay, so it's like it's just black, and I think it is still black, but I don't see, so it's get a little bit more softer and like softer, and here you see like
Gorgeous.
gorgeous. So I think it's just getting better and better, but yeah, the color unfortunately is not changing. I think I have also here some red notebooks
Yeah, mine's patinaing really beautifully as the
for
red. Oh
for
gosh, there
example,
we go.
yeah, this is like for example the red notebook, and just get a little bit of more marks or like
Mm,
like that. But I think the black is like it's I love the patina from the feeling, but unfortunately you cannot really see like a color change, and what is also quite good because I like black, and it is still black. But what is like for me the biggest change is it has getting softer and softer. Maybe some people say that's not that good, but you really can see it's like it's really soft leather now. It's really like
Oh
yeah, a
yeah.
super good cover, and it's yeah, it's great to touch, and yeah, enjoyment every time to touch it.
That's amazing. I actually
Mhm.
didn't really think that much about like the softness of the leather, but you're
Yeah.
quite right. Like now that I'm looking at my XL Voyager, I'm actually noticing how much softer it is and how much kind of bend there is and almost stretch there is to it, which is amazing. It's lovely to see. And the big thing that I love so much about Paper Republic, which is what you mentioned, is that being able to like change out the notebooks
Mm.
and you know um continuously use that. I suppose my final question for you before we
Mhm.
get into some of the questions is how has writing in your notebooks enhanced you, enhanced your life, enhanced your comprehension of your work and your learning? Do you feel like there has been a significant sort of shift in yourself from, you know, before versus now?
Oh, that's a deep question.
Sorry.
Yeah, and that's good, but I think it's not that easy to give an answer because I think sometimes there are also like downsides because sometimes I feel like, oh, now I'm really like addicted to note taking, and it's like always I have to think about, I have to make a note, and in the evening I thought, okay, I had these ideas when I have done that and that, or maybe these experience, and I have to write it down. And in the past it was just like maybe I just enjoyed it and I forget about it, and because of that sometimes it's really also pretty much annoying if you really have like the crumbling feeling of I have to take this note, but most of the time I just love it because it's just like a feeling of getting back space in your head, and it's just like
Love
really,
that.
really enjoy. Yeah, it's really like a feeling of enjoyment if you just try to sit there, and it's like understanding yourself. And also for me, it's most of the time when I taking notes, I also talk to myself. It's more like I'm in general, I talk a lot to myself, and if I'm writing, it's more like a formal way. I really try to think about it more deeply, and I see like, okay, in this sentence I have write about that, and now we go to the next, and we go to the next, and we go to the next, and it's when you have done it, like for me it's like 5 years, it's not even that long, but it's super exciting if you can just go back and you see, okay, where do I have developed, maybe where do I have like the same issues 5 years
Yeah.
ago, maybe I have to change something here. And for me it's like a big, yeah, it's a big paper hard. Like it's really when I see it, and it's just like to go in there and to read it and to see, yeah, maybe the bad moments, you see the good moments, and you see like
Yeah.
some you can remember about your readings, about your writings. You can maybe if you write sometimes a novel, or maybe you do some sketch work, and then you can see like these sketches from a year ago. It's always like yeah, a good thing, and brings you back like on your journey, your experience in life. And I think this is like the biggest part about note taking is just like it's yeah, maybe you can write yourself down. Maybe you know the German author Martin Walser, and he has said he has a really weak identity. And I think for me it is the same. I'm not so sure about who I am, but when I write notes, then I get more of a feeling like who I am and what should I do.
Wow.
And for me, it's like maybe like people who are really sure about themselves and say, okay, now I know exactly where I am and who I'm going to be. It's not that important for them like to make all these notes, but like for me, I always have the feeling like I change my mind so often. Like yesterday, I have thought this is like the right choice. Today, I thought this is like the right choice. Yesterday, I thought I want to do this in the future, or I want to stick to that, or yeah, and I want to leave that behind. But if you just write it down, you get more and more of a feeling of yourself. And for me, this is like the biggest benefit.
That is so amazing, Felix. I completely agree with you. I feel like there is a form of not only like brain clearing when I write notes down, but also just a sense of kind of grounding in myself and knowing more of myself as through that writing process. So thank you so much for that. That was such a wonderful answer, such a wonderful discussion. We've got so many questions, so I'm gonna try and get through as many as we can.
Mhm.
I'm gonna start at the top with Pamela. Pamela asks, how can we request the accepted cover stamp on the order like this? Pamela, we will let you know. It's the Paper Republic team have been really kind to hold on to the stamp for us. And if you email their customer service email, which we will share, they will put the stamp on any of the orders that you ask for. So big shout out to Paper Republic. Thanks, guys, for doing that. Talisa, when you take the notebooks out, how do you organize them?
And that's a good question because I'm currently working at it in the summertime. It's not that I have not a fancy place. I have just like some boxes like that, some black boxes, and I write down a post-it on it. And as I said, I have like these different kinds of notebooks. And what is now my part where I get back like some like Word or just like Apple Notes or like whatever you are using, I try to make like a small list of I forgot the word.
Like a
Um,
catalog?
yeah, exactly. And I just tried to do that and to write it down like in a word paper, like okay, what is in there, what I have, what is really important in this notebook, what are the most important pages. It's not that I try to really that it's not taking too much time, and then I just save that, and then I have the benefit of I can just search for words because that can be quite annoying if you just have like loose notebooks. But if you have like some mix of of the modern world and the analog world, then it's for me it works pretty good. But I don't have like some super cool shelter for it at the moment, maybe in the future. But yeah, that's like the idea.
That's actually really great because at the moment mine are just stored in this cabinet over here with
Yeah.
no system
Mm.
and no rhyme or reason, which kind of tends to Laura's question, which I think is really good, where Laura asks, what is your process for removing or archiving a notebook once it's been filled? So for example, do you cull for important bits you want to save, or do you save the entire notebook?
I saved the entire notebook. I'm not that good. I'm just like there. I'm quite a messy because I'm always have the hope maybe this going to be like a really important note. But sometimes it's just like if I see okay, this is just like rubbish, then I throw it away immediately. But if I save it once, I always like save it. And yeah, it's also I think sometimes like the yeah most bullshit stuff or like whatever, it can be super fun in the future and to going back on it. But yeah, I would say I'm more like the guy I save way too much and don't throw that much away.
Well, you know what? Someone will come through those archives at a later
Yeah,
stage. I have
yeah,
no doubt about that.
yeah, hopefully.
Um, we've got a couple of questions about refills, which is quite interesting. So a couple of people are asking whether other notebook refills can fit into the Paper Republic. I can absolutely guarantee that that is the truth. Most of the pocket size can fit A4. Most of the XL can fit A6 or B6 is better. So yes, they absolutely can be refilled with other brands of notebooks. And then a question from Patricia, which I thought was really interesting because I have this problem too, is how do you cope with starting a new notebook when your old notebook has not yet been filled?
I think that's not that big of an issue because I have like these different kinds.
Mm.
And then I just like, I really have to run through one kind and then I will start a notebook and not start it before that. But I'm really like flexible in my head. If I just say, okay, now this is a different notebook because this has like this topic, then it's quite not annoying for me.
Goodness.
But it's also, I think at first I was quite a little bit of it was unsatisfying for me like to have all these notebooks, And because sometimes it was like a figuring out process. Sometimes I open a notebook and then it was just like, okay, I'm not gonna fulfill, as I'm not gonna fill this up. But now it's just getting quite and quite more usual to just cross things through, or just say, okay, at first this was like a notebook for like this book, like this reading exercise, but now it's just like a book for like a different reading exercise. I always try that it sticks like to a similar topic, but I never every notebook that I archive is always full. So I never like when I archive a notebook, it's always full, because yeah, I don't like it if there's some, maybe there are just like 2 pages not full, but I always try to fill every notebook up. And if, yeah, maybe if I have finished a book and I had a specific notebook for it, what is not most of the time what I do, it's more like then it has to be a really important book for university, or I have a reading circle about it. But then I would just start another book and try writing in the same notebook. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, I struggle with this
Mhm.
idea of like having the last couple of pages maybe empty. I currently have like a master's journal where I literally started writing it my first day of my master's, and
Mhm.
now I'm I've got 2 weeks left and I've got maybe 30 pages left in this
Mhm.
journal. And I just know I'm not going to fill them
Mhm.
before the end of the time.
Mhm.
And I'm just kind of like, oh, but I don't want to like start on the PhD with these last couple of pages. So, but I see a couple of things in the chat where people have said like fill them with photos and mementos and
Yeah,
things
that's
like
also.
that. So I think that's a really, really good idea. Um, because I don't know, the idea of like leaving a notebook with a couple of pages left out, I don't think I don't think my brain could do that
Mhm.
comfortably. Um, but that's really, really great. I'm just trying to see if I've missed any other questions. Yes, photos. Uh, uh, Sorry, I'm just having a look here. If there is anyone in the room who wants to ask any other questions, please feel free to do so. I think I've covered most, but if I haven't, please just chat at me because the chat has been going crazy and it's so lovely to see. I think we probably have time for like one more question. I'm just going through to see if there's anything else that I've missed. Oh, Marcia's got a great question. How do you take care of your notebooks? Anything else that you would recommend other than the Paper Republic balm?
So I have not used another thing than a Paper Republic balm, but I can honestly tell you it is good when you use it, but it's, to be honest, it's not that important. So because
Okay.
if you just use it, then it will get these patina because of the sweat of your hands, and if you just carry it around. But of course, for example, when you go to the seaside, like to the ocean, and there's a little bit more of a salty air, then this can be like a little bit of an issue, or maybe you um, had a problem. Um you get something on your letter and you want to remove it, then it's a good idea if you just use a letter balm, but you don't have really to stick on the Paper Republic balm. But it's a great product because it's a really natural product, and I really can recommend it. I always use it. So when I get a new journal, then I just scrub it in with this balm, but I don't do it like that regularly. Maybe it's just like if I have really the thing of, okay, now the letter is getting dry, then I just do it again. But I think like maybe every half of a year or something like that. So it's not
Okay.
that difficult to take care of the letter, in my opinion. Maybe some people are maybe just focus more on it and they have like the much better journal because they take care of it more, but I just keep it simple.
Mine is certainly showing lots of sign of wear and tear because it just gets chucked into a bag and
Yeah.
that's where it lives and it's getting, I love it. I love the look of it being so worn and
Yeah, that's.
I have not admittedly done any sort of leather balm on my journals,
Yeah, it's not
which is
that.
probably a terrible thing to admit. Um, we do have a great question here. What size notebook would you recommend for someone who is getting their first Paper Republic?
Okay, so I think it depends a little bit. I would not recommend the A4 because I think it's just like it's really big. And maybe like the pocket size is like for people who really say I want like a catch-all notebook, like a notebook that I really have like all the time with me. You can have it in your back pocket, in your jeans, or like whatever. And I think the XL version, it is between A4 and the pocket size, and it's a little bit smaller than A5, and it's super handy. It's great for daily note taking, and it is like it can work for everything. You can have it with you. Of course, it's not that handy as the pocket size, but it also has the benefit of like you have a little bit more space if you really want to have like a longer diary interest or like whatever. Then it's like the XL size. But yeah, just I would think about, okay, is it like more I really want to have a notebook for to-do lists and to have all the time with me, then I would go for the pocket size. It's also like, of course, the cheapest. And the XL is more like the all-rounder. You can do anything with it. You can write like really much notes, and you can also use it for university or like whatever.
I love that. I think the A5 or the pocket, no, sorry,
Mm.
one more time. I think the Grand Voyager XL is
Yeah,
probably like the most versatile one that
yeah.
I found. And it was the first one that I got, and it was the
Mhm.
reason that I fell in love with it. Um, and speaking to that effect, we actually do have a exclusive Accepted Society discount code with Paper Republic, which is Accepted Society 30. I will be putting it into the chat right now. There are some details attached to that, but as I mentioned, if you also want to get the Accepted Society stamp on the front, Kaylin has shared that email address. You just need to send them an email with your order number and say that you've ordered this and you would like to have the stamp put on it. And I think that's kind of the conclusion of our time here today. Felix, thank you so, so much for joining us here today. It has been so wonderful talking to you, so wonderful talking to you about writing, the process of writing, how it has developed these sort of systems for you and has helped you so much throughout the years, so much so that you are working for the company that has inspired so many people here today into their journaling journeys. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. And thank you everyone else for being here and enjoying this first back to school session.
Thank you. Also, it was like a great experience every time again. It was super fun and I really enjoyed it. And yeah, great community. Keep it up and just take notes. Good. Always a good idea.
Thanks, Felix. Maybe we'll see you in the community when you start university again in October. That would be great.
For sure.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow for our public speaking.